Okay, this is going to be a weekly recap from the 5th of September to the 9th of September, and this one's going to be much shorter than the other ones because I only had 6 trades, which is a lot less than usual, and it seems like from my stats there were just not a lot of setups that really worked out, which is unfortunate, but it does seem like I did a little bit better in terms of how I traded the setups. And I did not make that much. It was pretty much a break-even week, just $5. And again, 6 trades, 3 of them were green trades. And I had this one trade right here. I didn't include it in my stats because this was just a practice trade. It wasn't necessarily a setup with a proper amount of size. As you can see, I just traded a $7 position here because I just wanted to see if the setup was going to work or not, which is why I had this small trade right here. So I didn't include it because this was a very speculative thing. It wasn't something I traded with, again, an actual size or anything like that. And with that in mind, just half of my trades were profitable. But again, I didn't have that many trades this week, so these stats are not really as helpful. My average dollar gain was a bit smaller than my average dollar loss because I just had one trade that didn't work out that I included in the stats because I traded a proper size. And my average percent gain was a bit smaller than my percent loss again because I just had this one trade that didn't work out, and I had a few green trades that were scratches. And yeah, let's just go over the setups one by one, starting with TGGI, starting on the 6th of September. TGGI is going to be right here. I like this one, and this is actually something that I could have considered buying for a longer period of time to hold, and just out of curiosity. I think it didn't really uptrend that much. It's still around the same point, but I like it because it broke past this level right here, right in the morning. And let's just go ahead and do a 5-day chart. This was the first day, which was the 6th. So I guess the charts are going to be kind of thrown off because of the fact that we had Labor Day, which also was another reason why I didn't have that many trades. But yeah, let's take a look at it. I was in at 935 at 152. So 935, 152. I'll zoom in a bit more, but essentially I was in it right here at 152. Why? Because we were breaking past this level, getting into the 15s, and I did place an order right when it looked like it was starting to break this 14.9 seller at the ask, and it started again at the 15s. And unfortunately, I got in at the very top of my limit. I was trying to get in at 15, but it just, uptrended really fast, as you can tell by all the volume, but it was totally fine. And this thing did uptrend over a longer period of time. I did get out at 938 at the same price at 152, which was right here. So I bought right here and I sold right here. And this was just unfortunate. The setup worked out, and who knows how I would have actually traded it if everything was working right. But because of the fact that E-Trade Pro was not working this day, a Tuesday, because we had Labor Day and the charts were not loading, I was using this platform right here, TD Immediate Trade, like halfway through the trade when I noticed that the chart wasn't working on E-Trade Pro, and I was loading TD Immediate Trade, and I just didn't like being in the position where I just didn't have the right tools. I wasn't able to look at the charts properly. If I still have a screenshot of this, it doesn't seem like I do, but I do have another trade from the same day, and as you can tell, this other trade with GEGI, I have like this weird chart, and this was off of my scanner because eventually I found a way to get a chart working with my scanner software. It was just not very nice that at the market open I didn't have the proper tools, I didn't have the chart, and this setup did work out. It did get to the 15.9 level, it had a dip, and it continued the uptrend over a longer period of time, but I was thrown off the entire day because the charts were just not working on E-Trade Pro. But this essentially worked out because it broke past the 14.9 level, and I mean it got as high as 16.4, as you can tell right here, and we did get into the 17s and the 18s the next day. So yeah, this was just an unfortunate trade. It did work out. It just didn't have the right tools. But let's just see what it would have been like if maybe I sold at 15.9. So maybe I sold some right here, dipped, I held through it, and then I sold in the next uptrend. Actually, let's just be cynical. Let's just say I sold at 15.6. Let's see what that would have been, just out of curiosity. Yeah, that would have been $8, and I would have made the week a lot better. But yeah, unfortunately, I just had that issue with the charts there. The next trade is GEGI, also on the 6th. Let's take a look at GEGI. 6 is right here. First big red day, and this one just does not, unfortunately, offer much of a bounce setup, but that's been something that is looking more common with these, and more of a setup that I'm not going to consider so much, at least after the morning. I was in at 949 at 132, so I'll probably zoom in a bit more. 939 was right here, and I was in at 132, so right here. And I got in the setup because it looked like it was going to, be a morning panic bounce play, a slow one, not really super like big dramatic over the first 8 minutes or so, and then it bounces. This thing was a kind of slow, and I got in it thinking that, we just had this candle right here with a whole lot of volume, ideally wiped out a lot of sellers, a lot of panic sellers, and now this thing can bounce with all of that selling price action out of the way. And yeah, this one just did not bounce, but this has been something very consistent with GEGI, that it just doesn't bounce. I was out at 952 at, yeah, exactly 133. So 952 was right here. I got out at 133 because I just didn't like how it didn't seem like it was trying to do much of the reversal setup where it would try to uptrend eventually and start to make a move past VWAP ideally and really bounce. It just seemed like it was just having too much topping price action, which is why I cut it. And I mean, I got out of it just a little profitable, but the idea was for it to have gotten to VWAP at least maybe a little higher. Let's just see what a sell at 143 would have been, just out of curiosity. Yeah, a lot of setups just didn't really work out. This one would have been nice too in terms of percent gain as well as dollar gain. And again, that's considering a move at 143. It could have went much higher, could have went to the 15s, but yeah, GEGI just did not bounce. I think this was a good attempt. It just didn't work out. This was the big red trade, considering the other ones. And yeah, after this, I just pretty much am not going to consider the 11 a.m. reversal setup. Let's look at GEGI on the 6th, which is the same day. I was in at 11.18 at 11.8. So 11.18 was right here when I got in. I'll actually zoom out a bit more since this is like a longer term setup. So 11.18 was right here at 11.8. I got in right here, and the stock was down a lot. It had a super nice uptrend, big red day. I think it was down around 30% at this point. And I thought two things were going to happen. Either it breaks the day low or it gets to VWAP, and this one broke the day low. Unfortunately, it was kind of sad because when I bought it right here, there was just nothing but ugly selling price action like right afterwards, and it just continued to downtrend. And I got out of the trade at 11.26 at 11.5. So 11.26 was right here, and I got out right here at 11.5 because it looked like it was going to break the day low, going back to this level right here at 11.5, and it was a good call. It did continue the downtrend. It did bounce at some point, I guess. It went from this, I guess this 10.8 level, then it got as high as 12, but I mean, these things just don't really bounce, and a lot of them that did offer a nice 11 a.m. reversal setup will do it around that time period of 11 a.m. I'm just not going to consider OTCs for this setup anymore. I'm going to be very hesitant if I do consider it. I think the last time that it worked was DPLS, and then the time before that was listed stock. It just doesn't seem to happen that much anymore, so I'm not going to be interested in putting my money into this type of setup anymore. But it could have worked out, and let's just see what a sell would have been like if we just sold right at VWAP at 127. Yeah, another big game right there. This week was just full of setups that did not really work out. Well, now let's look at one that did work out. Let's look at TGGI for the 7th. 7th is right here. So yeah, the second day after we had that breakout day, this one didn't really move that much. 7th is going to be right here. Maybe a few candles. I think that will be fine right there. I was in at 933 at 165, and this was a dip and rip setup. So I'll probably zoom in a bit more. 933 was right here at 165, so I got in right here. Why did I get in it? Well, the idea was is that the day high of this one was 175. We opened very high right here at 173, considering how much lower it got, and it also made a super crazy move towards the upside. Just a few prints, but it went to the 18s, and 175 is the key level, and then it was downtrending, and then we had like this big wick right here, so a lot of panic selling ideally happened so that all of them are out of the way, and now this thing can uptrend. And then I got in because it looked like it was starting to reverse at 165, and the goal with it would have been to have, gotten here to VWAP and then even higher, which it did do. So this one did work out. I got out at 940, and my average was, I'll just say 171. So 940 is when I got out of my last piece right here. 171. So right around right here is when I got out. So I clearly had a sell when it was still around here, and I had another sell, my last sell, when it got to this new range right here. And essentially I got out of my last piece because he just jumped on here, and that kind of threw me off and scared me. But in theory, what I could have done better is that I could have had like a candle from here, from this candle to the corner of the first candle that actually did the uptrend. Extend this one to the right. There's nothing wrong with my first sell, when it started to work a little, in case that it just uptrends a little and then it fails, because a lot of the setups, as you can see, didn't really work out this week. But this last piece, I don't like it. Even though I sold at, I believe, 174, which was fine overall, I would have been happier if I were to have stuck to this trend line, even though it jumped on air and was a bit scary. If I were to have held it and then maybe have considered getting out of it right here once it broke past it, but it would have given me the opportunity to have maybe sold a bit higher, like 177, or if it were to have continued the workout and followed the trend line, then I would have been able to have sold even higher. This thing would have made me really upset if it just followed this trend line and it got to the 18s. And I'm with my best sell at 174 just because it jumped on air and it was scary. I gotta stick to using a trend line more. Again, the first sell was fine, but I think I sold my first piece. Yeah, also with too much shares, a large portion of my position, and then this last piece, again, I should have waited for a trend line. Even though in this case I didn't uptrend too much more, I would have been able to have potentially have sold higher, and then if it were to have continued to followed it, I would have missed out on a lot more money. But I'm glad to have gone over a setup here that did work out, and there was room, definitely room for improvement. Let's look at this setup right here, which was a speculative trade with GEGI on the 8th. Eighth is right here, just continues to sell off and offer zero bounce, or at least nice bounces. That's pretty much there. I was in at 947 at 76. Inverse head and shoulders head. VWAP dip buy. So 947. So I'm just gonna zoom in from right here. 947 right here. I was in at, I believe, 76. Yeah, 76 at 947. So I got in it right here. Why did I get into setup? First thing was a head of an inverse head and shoulders. I thought this was a shoulder, and I thought this was a head of an inverse head and shoulders. So ideally it will do an uptrend and then maybe a sell piece, and then it will downtrend and ideally make a shoulder, which will be a higher low off of here. And then it can continue to make a move towards the upside above VWAP and maybe trying to be like a reversal day. Nope, this thing just sold off, but it was a good attempt. I got out at 956 at 71. 956 was right here. I was essentially risking the day low And when it was clearly breaking the day low, which was 72, I got out at 71. It only got to the 69 level, but it could have broken below the 70 level and really continued to panic. And it did eventually turn around, and maybe you can say this was an inverse head and shoulders, shoulder, head, shoulder, but I just don't like it when, I think this is a head, shoulder, head, and then it fails. And then, oh, this might be the head, shoulder, head, and even though this one ended up maybe being the setup I was trying to get. Also, the fact that this thing was under VWAP for the first time, I thought that would be another reason why I could try to trade around that level and uptrend and not get below it like it did. I just don't like, trying to get in again. Maybe I could have done it again for the shoulder, just the, shoulder, head, shoulder setup, but to try another head, I think that would have been a little too much because it could just continuously make lower lows, and I keep thinking it's going to do a reversal eventually when it honestly doesn't have to. But it did make a move in theory from the 73 level to the 83, but again, just don't really like this stock and it kind of trades ugly. Let's look at the last trade, which is PPCB on the 9th. Doesn't look like much, but when you take a, looks like I got an old trend line from here. Probably the other time it had an uptrend. Let's get back to it right here. Yeah, this thing had a very nice run up, and I thought it was a lot better than normally, at least when you look at a chart of this one, because it had a lot more volume. And I was trading this on the second day. Ideally, it wasn't going to do this. It was going to uptrend for more than just one day, and I got in at 939 at 32.75. And that was on the last day. So let me just first highlight it right here first. Anyway, 939 was right here, and I got in at that 32.75 level. Yeah, so right here, why did I get in this? Well, I had a super nice green day, and it opened the next day, and I thought it was gonna be like a dip and rip setup where it could be like a dip and rip, but it was also down so much. I just figured that it was up so much on the day, and if it's going to downtrend so much the second day right in the morning, it might try to bounce. As you can see, it did do a pretty massive drop from the 41 sub penny level as low as 29, which doesn't seem like much, but a move from 4 to 3 is a 33% downtrend. So I did consider it once it did this downtrend and it started to consolidate, have another wick, and trade back and forth. And the idea was is that it was going to break past VWAP and maybe to do like an uptrend, not necessarily get all the way up here per se, but offer some kind of a bounce. And I guess it did, but it just wasn't that strong because VWAP held it down. It didn't let it get above it. And I got out at 950 at 33.17. So right here is when I got out of my last piece, and my average was 33.17. So yeah, this was a scratch. It just didn't get above VWAP. It failed, and then it did continue the downtrend over a longer period of time. As you can see, it was now in the 20s by the time we got to the end of the day. Let's just see what it would have been like if maybe it got to 37, which could have happened easily. Yeah, another, plus $10 gain. And yeah, that basically summarizes the case. A lot of setups didn't work, no decent bounces. At least we had one trade that I took that worked, which was this one right here with TGGI, and I'm happy that I had at least one that worked out, and I could have sold better, and I could have been more profitable too. Just kind of stinks that setups just didn't really work out. They just, these OTCs just don't know how to bounce, and that just stinks. But it's good experience nonetheless, and ideally the next week can be better, and I can trade better as well and try to be more profitable. That's all I have for this weekly recap right here.